This is Andy Parole for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and I'm delighted to be joined by former world champion Darren Barker. We're out here in what I would like to say is sunny New York, but as you can see, it isn't. And Darren's opted for me to do the interview facing the streets and get a bit of a taste for what we've had this week.
Yeah, why not? Look, there's a bit of background going on. We've just seen police cars, etc. Typical New York, but yeah, it's not so great, but glad to be here.
Saw the police cars, and we haven't seen Dave Allen for a while, so...
No, because I've been training him hard. He ran this morning on a treadmill, and we've done some shadow and a bit of circuit training at lunchtime, so yeah, he's probably resting up.
We'll obviously come on to Dave in a bit, but we'll start off with the reason that we are in New York in first place. Anthony Joshua defends his world titles against Aj-Ruiz Jr. What are your thoughts on that fight?
Look, it's an opponent that Eddie has looked at and thought, who's going to come here and have a real go? Someone that's not all about the money, you know, someone who wants to create history and, in Ruiz's case, become the first Mexican heavyweight champion of the world. So he knows Andy Ruiz is going to give it everything. And look, though he wouldn't be my first choice of opponent, obviously Jarrell Miller was there, and I would love him to be in a Wilder or a Fury or a Dave Allen. But he will come to fight. You know, someone who wants to create that sort of history with that Mexican heart that we know never lets us down. I don't think it's a bad opponent. I don't.
What did you make of the options that were available to AJ? Obviously the likes of Wilder-Ortiz, Adam Karanaki, Michael Hunter, etc. Do you think Andy Ruiz was the best option available, or do you think one of those other names or somebody else?
I just think he's one of the most hungriest of opponents. You know, I think becoming the first of something is such a big sort of, I guess, opportunity to become the first Mexican heavyweight world champion. It's just such a big deal, and I can see Eddie's thinking behind it. You know, for me, Ortiz, I don't want to go into it too much, but for your highest payday to be around $1 million and then to turn down $7 million, and with the opportunity to be the best heavyweight in the world, there's something a bit fishy going on there. I'm not gonna say it, but you make your own conclusion. I think it's pretty obvious that there's something dodgy going on there.
How do you see the fight playing out on Saturday night between AJ and Andy Ruiz Jr.?
I think Andy Ruiz is gonna try and outbox and outwit and outspeed Anthony Joshua. I think he's gonna try and be quite elusive and move. But I see AJ getting to him mid to late on. I do think Ruiz is going to come and have a go, and I do think he's a good pick for this show. It wouldn't be my first choice, obviously, but he's the best that's going to come and have a go. But I just think AJ takes over mid to late.
Now, the card in general over social media is coming for a bit of criticism. Fans not tending to be happy with the quality on show. What's your thoughts on that? You know, people in particular, just to give you some examples, you know, the Hassan N'Dam versus Callum Smith fight. Everybody expects Callum to be a bigger fight if you were, especially on the back of a terrific performance against George Groves. Do you understand where the fans are coming from?
Yeah, of course. I mean, first off, just look at Katie Taylor. She's looking to unify the division, become Ring Magazine champion. So anyone who dismisses that is out of order, in my opinion. Callum Smith, look, speaking to Eddie and a lot of people out there who work closely with him, no one wants to fight him. Honestly, you know, they're offering the fight to a lot of people, but they're not taking it. And you know, sometimes what do? Just hold out and not let him fight. You know, they're getting him out, and damn though he's coming up from middleweight, he's very experienced. He had been beaten by the best out there, but yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? You know, it's a tough one for Callum because he just wants to defend those titles. He wants to be active. He's been out the ring for a while. But look, let's instead of knocking it, why don't we just support our fighters? You know, I just think it's been made now. Let's just support them.
the names that have been mentioned in and around Callum for a potential next fight: Canelo, Golovkin, and even Billy Joe Saunders. Out of those three, who would you like to see Callum face?
Do you know what? Any of them. I like the Billy Joe fight. I think domestic. I'm a big fan of the big fights that we have over on our shores. You know, I like them. But to see Callum in with arguably the best pound for pound fighter out there, Canelo would be fantastic. And look, Golovkin, was that the other name?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, any of those guys. I mean, I would quite happily pick out the hat. And I don't think we're far off. Obviously, them names weren't going to happen for this bill. So Callum's fighting now. Let's support him and hope and keep all our fingers and toes crossed that the next one is one of those guys. Because what a fight it would be.
Now, another fight on the card which has had a little bit of criticism over social media was Buatsi Periban. Not on Josh's part once again, but simply because when you look at Periban, he hasn't fought for 2 years, and now he's coming back and he's stepping up to light heavyweight. What are your thoughts on that one?
It's hard. It's hard because Buatsi's that good. You want to see him in there, but it's about getting the timing right. And I think after this fight, let's move him on. I'm intrigued to see what happens with Yard and Kovalev, and can you imagine that fight, Buatsi and Yard for a world title? I mean, be fantastic. But yeah, let's not knock Buatsi or anyone involved in this. Let's appreciate how talented Buatsi is. Let's support him in this one. Let's cheer him on. I'm sure he's going to win this with no troubles whatsoever. And then we'll look to bigger and better fights after.
How good do you think Josh is? You know, Josh is one of the most exciting prospects that's come through the latest lot of GB Olympians to turn over. Do you think what level would you put him at? I'll be happy to see him boxing at the minute.
I think he's one of the brightest prospects in world boxing. I do think he can go all the way. I really do. He's got that pedigree. There's a rawness about him that's so exciting. He's well schooled. He's got a bit of everything that appeals to all the boxing fans out there. And like I say, I think let's get this one out of the way, and then we'll look to really big, important fights. Because I do think he's that good. But if I was Team Buatsi, in Team Buatsi, I'd be happy with the way he's progressed and the way he's been built. But now I think after this one, and I think Eddie would say the same, anyone involved would say the same, I think he needs a little bit of a rest after this. You know, he's had back-to-back camps, and then see him straight back in with one of the big dogs. You know, whether it's straight at world level or on the cuffs of world level, something like that to get the juices flowing.
You mentioned Yard Kovalev just as well. We're waiting the announcement of that. It seems to be the fight's been agreed by both sides. What do you make of that fight? Do you think Josh is catching Sergey Kovalev just for... Sorry, not Josh. Anthony Yard is catching Sergey Kovalev at the right time of his career?
Possibly. And same could say the same for Kovalev. You know, is Anthony Yard this YouTube sensation? You know, he hasn't really... and anyone can say what you want. I'm not knocking what Anthony Yard's done at all. I do think he's a very good fighter, but yet to be really tested. And Kovalev may see that and think it's the right time for me to fight Anthony Yard. He's only going to get better. It excites me. I look forward to it. And though I've had a bit of banter messing about with Tundi, and I wish them all the best. Why wouldn't I? You know, I'm patriotic, and I'm a huge fan of British boxing. Forget the promoters, who's this, who's that. I don't care who they're promoted by. I will, and I support all our fighters, and I wish them all the best.
Now, to move away from this card, the big heavyweight announcement yesterday came from Deontay Wilder over social media, who said that he's going to have a rematch with Ruiz-Ortiz. When you saw that, again, what was your thoughts and your reaction to it?
Exactly the same as everyone else, disappointed. You know, I'm thinking they're, hoping, and was just wishing that there was a chance that fight could happen at the end of the year. You know, Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. That's not going to be the case now. You start thinking now, will that fight ever happen? You know, because like some of these big fights that haven't happened, or they have happened after either fighter has lost, and it just doesn't have the same sort of buzz. And I would hate that to happen, because heavyweight boxing, anything can. Anything, one person just has to land one big shot, and then that huge fight, it just isn't the same anymore. But look, if it does happen the end of next year and both men are still unbeaten, then it's an even bigger, better fight. But yeah, I'm frustrated.
Obviously, the fight's been announced within a week and a half of his victory over Dominic Breazeale. Do you think that the fight was being discussed prior to Wilder-Breazeale, and that some form of agreement had been reached, just papers needed to be signed?
I'm as clueless as you, mate. Honestly, who knows? Who knows what's going on? There seems to be a struggle for power at the minute, and everyone wants to be the main man, and it's just a little bit. Well, I mean, again, I'll say the word again. It's just frustrating. You want to see the best in with the best, and we would all happily pay over the odds to see that fight, and it's just annoying that we yet to see it. But who knows? Who knows? I'm almost sick of talking about it, if I'm deadly honest. But good things come to those who wait.
How surprising is it that, knowing that Deontay talks about one face, one champion, one title holder, etc., he's gone and made this fight without even looking to have those negotiations after he fought Dominic Breazeale? Yeah.
Look, you've got to look after number one at the end of the day, but you can't say one thing and then do something else. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. Like, what you waiting for? How much money is enough? I would love to see somebody just say, yes, I want to be the best heavyweight in the world. I want to prove I'm number one. Because look, at the end of the day, they're not going to go skint, are they? They're both going to earn bundles of money. But I don't know. The politics of boxing will always confuse me, as it did when I was boxing.
Now, this obviously will leave AJ in the lurch a bit, in the sense that unless he was to fight either Tyson Fury or Dillian Whyte, the fan reaction isn't going to be great to that, because everybody wants to see him fighting the best, as they do with the other top heavyweights. Realistically, Tyson seems to have his career planned out for the USA for the next 2 or 3 fights. If he doesn't fight Dillian Whyte next, who else do you believe he could fight, which is a worthwhile opponent, where he won't receive a negative reaction from the public?
Yeah, I mean, it is tough. It is tough, and no one really looks beyond the top 4 at the minute, do they? Because everyone, you just want to see them in with each other. For me, I just worry that the guys, all of those guys that will fighting all these other guys in the division, may lack in motivation, and they might get a bit complacent because they have one eye on the bigger fights. And it's about staying motivated. I was saying just today, Eddie, it's dangerous times for sort of AJ after this fight. It's not going to be Wilder, and it is one of those guys lower down the divisions. How do you stay motivated? And it's true what Eddie says. AJ is a proper professional. He will do everything he can to continue to keep winning and pave his way into these big fights. But it's just a shame in it for everyone involved. I don't want it to be like a fantasy thing that who would have won out of AJ and Deontay Wilder one day, or who would have won out of AJ and Fury. Just let's all get in there. Almost can't we do a World Boxing Super Series with the heavyweights? Get them all in with each other. Because that's one thing with that competition. Injuries aside, the best get in there with the best. But I don't know. Who knows?
Now, to move away from the top heavyweights, today we've just seen the fight announced between Joyce and Browne Jennings. I don't know whether you've seen that yet, but now I've just discussed it with you. Good matchup for Joe? Yeah,
I think it's a good fight at his stage in his career. At this stage in his career, I think Joyce is good. Has a strange sort of style, doesn't he? But it's very effective, and he's definitely one to watch out for, and one that I think can do well in the division.
Would that be a fight that would be of interest to you if he was put towards Dave Allen?
Not right now, if I'm honest. Got a different sort of path planned for Dave if all goes well. Not looking past David Price at the minute, but it's probably not a fight I'm that interested in right now, if I'm honest.
Let's come on to Dave, your man, David Allen. How has camp gone since you've begun?
Do you know what? Having a camp straight off the back of the last one, he had 3 weeks off where, to be honest, he ticks over and he come back down to London in brilliant shape. he's already improving. You know, he's I think just being fit and strong and going into a new camp allows him to work on his technique and tactics and things like that, which he's not been able to do before. And he's responding well to my training techniques, I guess. I've been very fortunate to be coached by some really, really good coaches through my 23 years of boxing, and I'm hoping that through their techniques they're rubbing off on Dave. And I've seen it. I'm looking forward to sparring starting next week. And we can really practice out the game plan. But I've been impressed with Dave, not just his physical condition and his weight at the minute is brilliant, but his mental place at the minute. You know, he wants to be a force to be reckoned with, and some people might laugh at it and say that he's just not that good. But you haven't seen what I've seen in the gym. You know, I'm not blowing smoke up his arse. He when he moves around that ring and he lets his hands go, he's pleasing on the eye. And now it's for me to make sure he does that on fight night and doesn't fall in that bracket of being a gym fighter, because a gym fighter is someone that looks $1 million in the gym, which Dave does, but then can't transfer it on fight night. So now it's my job to get that Dave Allen that's in the gym into the ring on fight night. If he can do that, then I couldn't tell you how far he'll go, because he has such fantastic durability, he has a brilliant chin, and that's always been tested without a game plan, without peak conditioning. Now he has that, and he has some sort of guidance. Who knows how far he can go? Who knows? I mean, I've said it before, if he doesn't achieve at least a big domestic title, and I mean like British, Commonwealth, European, then he's underachieved in my opinion.
Has he surprised you in the sense that he's stayed committed to training so soon after the victory over Lucas Browne?
Not really. He loves this sport. He absolutely loves boxing. Boxing is his thing. He enjoys it so much, and he wants to achieve. He wants to do big things in the sport. You know, he doesn't just want to make up the numbers. And like I say, I've been so impressed, and I'm proud of his desire. And like I say, I hope it goes on, and we can get a bit of momentum going and get a few wins behind our back again. We're not looking beyond David Price, and I hate it when we say we, but you know, as a team, we're not looking beyond David Price. We know he's got that pedigree, he's a dangerous fighter, he can whack, one of the biggest punchers out there, but I do think Dave Allen will get past David Price, and then I've got some ideas for opponents. They may
care to share?
Well, for me, the top 15 in the world. It's look. Okay, I don't live and swear by BoxRec ratings, but if we're going to go by that, just to start off with, Dave Allen's 20, Aj-Ruiz is 18. Above that, they're all dangerous fighters. So you start thinking to yourself, you look at Povetkin, you look at Pulev, they're 39 and 38, and you start thinking that you got Dave, he's a very confident individual. He's confident in his durability, his ability, and I just think he's a nightmare for them. He is a nightmare for them. Some people will laugh at it. You know, you got Povetkin, a former world champion, former Olympic, and a gold medalist and amateur star. How on earth can Dave Allen compete with him? But there's a lot of physical attributes that Dave has, which is all wrong for a 39-year-old, as long as he's clean, which is an issue that we're all having at the minute. But you know, if Dave's still there after 6 rounds and still moving his head and still winging away, and he's a nightmare. And you only probably, when you're in that top 20, Aj-Ruiz proving, you're not that far off a huge fight. So let's wait and see. Look, let's get David Price out of the way first.
What do you think it is about yourself and Dave that seems to have given Dave that motivation to stay committed to boxing for what seems to be the first time in his career?
Well, he respects me, so I've been told, and we get on. We have a laugh. You know, when we train. Let me tell you now, I'm serious about it, and I understand now. I'm his coach, I have to extract the best out of him. I can't let him take his foot off the gas, and he's got to stay committed, and he doesn't want to let me down. And I think that's the main ingredients, really. And you know, anyone who knows has watched Dave on various interviews. He likes to have a laugh. He's a very fun character. Same with me and Tony Sims and all the boys in the gym that I train. We had a laugh. When it was serious, we got serious. But there's times that, you know, you can joke and you can have a laugh, and we have a bit of fun. But yeah, I've got his back. Let me tell you that.
Now, just to swing back to the Price fight, it seems to be everybody saying if Dave Allen gets past the first few rounds, then he will be able to either find a stoppage or win on points. Is that the plan, to get past the first few rounds where David Price would be at his most lethal, if it were?
Yeah, I mean, David Price is dangerous as long as he's in the ring, because, you know, in the heavyweight division and carrying the power he does, anything can happen at any point in a fight. But yeah, it's about David staying switched on and being very smart, being sensible. You know, I will not accept him not moving his head, and I want him to make David Price work without him actually throwing shots. So plenty of feinting, etc., and just showing people how good he can box. So Dave, honestly, he's impressed me a lot. I'm a boxing purist. I know the sport inside out, and I know when someone can fight or they can't fight. And not only can he fight, he can box. So yeah, I don't want to go into too much, but we worked on a lot of things, and I love David Price. I remember him in the amateurs. Me and him are friends, but I can't see David Allen losing this one.
You mentioned you'd like to maybe win that British title. The two contenders for that who will be fighting on July 13th, Daniel Dubois and Nathan Gorman. What are your thoughts on that matchup? Are you surprised that they've both been put together so early on in their careers?
Yeah, sort of, but there's not many options out there now, is there? It's a pick-on fight for me. Gorman's extremely confident, isn't he? And Daniel Dubois looks lethal and devastating. So yeah, it's a toss of the coin for me. You know, some people might say, "Oh, Daniel Dubois definitely," but there's a confidence in Gorman that makes me think, hold on a minute, you know, he genuinely fancies this. But who knows with Dave Allen? There's lots of avenues to go down at the minute. It may be that we don't go down the domestic route, but I would be disappointed if Dave didn't, like I say, win one of those titles. But there's so many with these ranking belts now. There's so many different ways you can look to sort of navigate one's career. So who knows? I've got some ideas, but again, I can think about them more once the David Price fight's out of the way.
Now, final fight I just wanted to get your thoughts on was Tom Little versus Lucas Browne. What were your thoughts on that one when that one was announced?
No, I wasn't surprised really. I was surprised on what show it was going to be put on. But Tom's a character, isn't he? Lucas Browne has been in some good fights here. I'm sort of like the way that Lucas Browne shrugged off the loss to Dave Allen, saying, you know, I got caught with a good shot. I was doing all right for the first 2-3 rounds, but you know, I got caught with a peach. And that's boxing at the end of the day. You can lose, but I think that people have looked at the way he's gone up and down in weight, and they look at his age and think, maybe he should think about calling it a day. But look, he's in control of his career, and you know, Tom Little is somebody that you would think Lucas Browne can win, but Tom Little's confident and feels he can really make a statement. So look, I'll be watching that one.
Well, Darren Barker, I've kept you for long enough.
No, you're right, mate.
But I appreciate your time as always, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.